Why I will never accept free food in Lagos again. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed with no memory of how I got there and my bank account completely empty. Let me tell you something about Lagos. This city will teach you lessons you never asked for. I thought I knew the streets. I thought I was smart enough to navigate this concrete jungle we call home. Boy, was I wrong. My name is Kemi, and what happened to me that night in February changed everything I thought I knew about trust, kindness, and survival in this city. It was a Friday evening, and you know how Friday evenings are in Lagos. The whole city is buzzing with energy. People are rushing to parties, clubs, Owambe celebrations, anything to wash away the stress of another grinding week. I had just finished my shift at the bank in Victoria Island. The traffic was mad as usual, so I decided to stop by my friend Tola's birthday party in Surulere before heading home to my small flat in Yaba. The party was nothing fancy, just friends gathering in Tola's family compound with a DJ playing the latest Afrobeat hits. You know the type, plastic chairs arranged in circles, coolers full of drinks, and that familiar smell of jollof rice and grilled chicken filling the air. I was wearing my favorite blue dress, the one my mother bought me from Balogun Market. Looking back now, I remember every detail of that night with painful clarity. That's where I met him. Let me call him David because I still don't know his real name. David was tall, light-skinned, well-dressed in a way that made you think he had money. He spoke good English mixed with Yoruba, the kind of accent that suggested he was educated but still street smart. In Lagos, you learn to read people quickly, and David seemed like good people. He introduced himself as Tola's cousin from Abuja, said he was in town for business, and decided to surprise his cousin for her birthday. The story made sense. Tola has family everywhere, and she's always talking about her relatives in the capital. "Sis, you look tired," he said to me around 9 p.m. I was sitting alone, scrolling through my phone after dancing for about an hour. He wasn't wrong. Bank work in Lagos is no joke. Every day you are dealing with customers who are frustrated about everything. Network issues, long queues, failed transactions. By Friday evening, I was always exhausted. "Work stress," I replied, smiling. "You know how it is?" "Oh, I understand completely. I work in IT. Lagos will drain your soul if you let it." We talked for maybe 30 minutes. He seemed genuine. Talked about how expensive rent was getting, how traffic was becoming impossible, how young people like us had to hustle twice as hard just to survive. All normal Lagos conversations. Around 10 p.m., I was getting ready to leave. I had an early morning the next day. My mother wanted me to accompany her to the market to buy materials for my younger brother's school uniform. That's when David approached me with a plate of food. "Since you have not eaten anything since you got here, take this rice. You need energy for the journey home." I looked at the plate. It was a generous portion of party rice, the kind with prawns and beef mixed in. It looked delicious, and honestly, I was hungry. I had skipped lunch because of a difficult customer who kept me occupied for hours. "Thank you, but I was just about to leave." "Come on, just a few spoons. You know it's not good to travel on empty stomach, especially with Lagos transport. You might not get home until midnight with this traffic." He had a point. Anyone who lives in Lagos knows that journey time is unpredictable. What should take 1 hour can easily become 3 hours, especially on Friday nights when everyone is trying to get somewhere. Looking back, I realized this was his strategy. He knew Lagos life. He knew our struggles. He used our reality against us. "Okay, just a little," I said, taking the plate. I took maybe 5 or 6 spoons of rice. It tasted normal. Actually, it was quite good. The pepper was just right, not too hot, not too mild. The rice was perfectly cooked. "This is sweet," I said to David, who was standing nearby watching me eat. "Right? Tola's mother is an excellent cook. She prepared it herself." I finished about half the plate and gave it back to him. "Thank you so much. I'm satisfied now." "No problem at all. Safe journey home." I went to find Tola to say goodbye. She was in the middle of cutting her birthday cake, surrounded by friends, singing and taking pictures. I hugged her quickly. "Thanks for the invite, babe. The party was nice." "You are going already? It's still early now." "You know me. I don't like staying out too late. Plus, I have to follow my mother to market tomorrow. Okay, oh, greet your family for me. I collected my bag and started walking toward the gate. I was about 10 minutes into my walk to the bus stop when I first noticed something was wrong. My legs felt heavy. Not tired heavy, but like someone had tied weights to my ankles. Each step required conscious effort. Then, my vision started getting blurry. The street lights looked like they had halos around them, and I kept blinking, thinking it would clear. By the time I reached the bus stop, I knew something was seriously wrong with my body. Lagos can be crazy, but I'm not someone who gets sick easily. I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I exercise regularly. My body was betraying me in a way that made no sense. I sat on the bench at the bus stop trying to understand what was happening. My phone felt heavy in my hand. The numbers on the screen kept swimming around. That's when the real fear started. Oh, Jesus Christ, I whispered to myself. The food. Even in my confused state, the pieces started coming together. David, the insistence that I eat, the way he watched me take every spoonful. I tried to call Tola, but my fingers couldn't coordinate properly on the phone screen. I kept missing the numbers. A bus came and I somehow managed to board it, though I couldn't remember exactly how. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in the back seat, struggling to keep my eyes open. The conductor was asking for my money, but when I reached for my purse, my hands felt like they belonged to someone else. This is where my memory gets patchy. I remember fragments, flashes of images and sounds that don't connect properly. I remember being in a different bus, though I don't remember changing buses. I remember someone, a man's voice talking to me, asking me if I was okay. I remember being in a car that wasn't a bus or taxi. I remember bright lights. I remember voices speaking languages I could not understand. But mostly, I remember nothing. 3 days. That's how long I was gone from my life. 3 days that I can't account for. I opened my eyes in a hospital bed in Ikeja General. The first thing I saw was my mother's face. She looked like she had aged 10 years in 3 days. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Kemi, thank God you're awake, she said, grabbing my hand. My throat was dry. My head felt like someone had been using it as a drum. Every muscle in my body ached. Mama, what happened to me? How did I get here? That's when the tears started flowing from her eyes again. We've been looking for you for 3 days. Your phone was switched off. You didn't come home. We reported to police. We thought... She couldn't finish the sentence. My father was there too, sitting in the corner with his head in his hands. My younger brother Samuel was asleep on another chair. The police found you this morning, my mother continued. You were at the National Stadium, just lying on the ground. You couldn't speak properly. They brought you here. National Stadium. That's in Surulere, not far from where the party was. But I had no memory of going there or why I would be there. A nurse came to check on me. She was kind but professional, the way Lagos healthcare workers learn to be when they see too much tragedy. You're lucky to be alive, she said while checking my pulse. When they brought you in, you were dehydrated and malnourished. Your system was full of substances that shouldn't be there. We ran tests. Someone drugged you with a combination of benzodiazepines and other compounds. You've been unconscious for most of the past 3 days. The room started spinning again, but this time it wasn't from drugs. It was from pure shock. Someone had drugged me, intentionally. David. But the worst news was yet to come. My mother pulled out my phone, which the police had found with me. Kemi, we need to talk about your bank accounts. My heart stopped. What about my bank accounts? They are empty. All of them. Your savings, your current account, even the fixed deposit you were keeping for your NYSC allowance. Everything is gone. 850,000 naira. That was my entire life savings. Money I had been gathering for 2 years, planning to use for my master's degree. Money I had sacrificed so much to save, skipping meals, wearing the same clothes, walking instead of taking buses when I could. All gone. 2 days after I woke up in the hospital, My father insisted we go to the police station to make a proper report about the theft. Surulere police station on a Monday morning is exactly what you expect. Crowded, noisy, and full of people with bigger problems than yours. We sat on a wooden bench for 3 hours before anyone attended to us. The officer who finally called us was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. Her name tag read Inspector Aduni. "So, you say someone drugged you and stole your money?" she asked, not looking up from the file she was writing in. "Yes, ma. At a party in Surulere, the person gave me food and..." "Do you have evidence? CCTV footage? Witnesses who saw this person drug you?" I looked at my father. We hadn't thought about evidence. In my mind, the story was so clear, but I was realizing that proving it would be nearly impossible. "No, ma, but..." "Sister, do you know how many people come here every day with stories like this? Someone drugged me, someone hypnotized me, someone used juju on me. Meanwhile, the person was probably just drunk or careless with their ATM card or PIN." I felt my anger rising. "Inspector, I don't drink alcohol and I didn't give anyone my ATM card or PIN." She looked at me for the first time since we started talking. "You say you don't remember 3 days. How do you know what you did or did not do?" That question hit me like a slap. She was right, and that was the most terrifying part. I had no idea what happened during those lost hours. "Look," Inspector Adoni continued, her voice softening slightly, "I'm not saying your story is not true, but unless you can identify this David person or bring us concrete evidence, there's nothing we can do. Lagos has thousands of criminals. We can't arrest someone based on a description of tall, light-skinned man who speaks good English." We left the police station with nothing but a case file number that I knew would never lead anywhere. Against my parents' wishes, I decided to go back to Tola's house 3 days later. I needed to understand exactly what happened that night. Tola was shocked when she saw me at her gate. "Kemi, your mother called me looking for you. She said you disappeared after my party. Are you okay?" I told her everything. About David, the food, waking up in the hospital, the stolen money. Her face went from confusion to horror. "Kemi, I don't have any cousin named David from Abuja. All my cousins were at the party, and you know them already." My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "I mean, whoever that person was, he wasn't my family. I thought he was someone's friend. You know how parties are. Friends bring friends. People know people." So David was a complete stranger. Someone who had walked into the party, mixed with the crowd, and targeted me specifically. "Did you see him talking to anyone else?" I asked. Now that I think about it, no. He mostly kept to himself. I remember seeing him around the food table a lot. The food table, where he must have prepared the drugged plate specifically for me. "Kemi, I need to ask your neighbors if they have CCTV cameras facing the street. Maybe we can see him arriving or leaving." We spent 2 hours going from house to house. Most people were sympathetic but couldn't help. Finally, we found one neighbor who had a security camera that covered part of the street. The footage only keeps for 1 week. After that, it deletes automatically. It had been 6 days since the party. We had missed it by 1 day. My bank, First Bank, had their own investigation unit for fraud cases. I went there hoping they could trace the transactions and maybe identify who accessed my account. The customer service manager, Mr. Ojo, was more helpful than the police. "Miss Kemi, we can see that multiple withdrawals were made from your account between Friday night and Sunday morning. The transactions happened at different ATM locations across Lagos." He showed me printout of the transactions. Friday, 11:47 p.m., 40,000 naira withdrawal, ATM in Ikeja. Saturday, 2:15 a.m., 50,000 naira withdrawal, ATM in Festac. Saturday, 8:30 a.m., 40,000 naira withdrawal, ATM in Lekki. Saturday, 3:20 p.m., 50,000 naira withdrawal,
ATM in Maryland, Saturday 11:59 p.m., 40,000 naira withdrawal, ATM in Aja, and so on until my account was completely empty. This person knew your PIN, Mr. Ojo said, and they were smart. They withdrew amounts that wouldn't trigger immediate fraud alerts, and they used ATMs in different locations to avoid suspicion. But how did they get my PIN? That's what we need to find out. We'll request CCTV footage from all these ATM locations. Maybe we can identify the person. Finally, some hope. It took 2 weeks, but the bank managed to get footage from 4 of the 6 ATM locations. We sat in a small office at the bank headquarters in Marina, watching grainy security footage on an old computer screen. The first video showed a figure at the Ikeja ATM at 11:47 p.m. on Friday. The person was wearing a hoodie and face mask, making identification impossible. This was probably planned, Mr. Ojo said. See how they are deliberately hiding their face. The second video from the Festac ATM was clearer. The person had removed the hoodie, probably thinking they were safe. It was definitely a man, but the face was still partially covered. The third video from Lekki was the breakthrough we needed. Pause it right there, I said, my heart racing. The man had looked directly at the camera while inserting the card. For just 2 seconds, his face was completely visible. It was David, no doubt about it. Do you recognize this person? Mr. Ojo asked. Yes, that's the man who drugged me. We printed still images from the footage. Finally, I had evidence. Armed with the CCTV screenshots and bank transaction records, I returned to Surulere police station. This time, Inspector Aduni took me more seriously. This is good evidence, she admitted, studying the images, but we still need to identify this man. Do you have any idea of his real name or where he might live? I didn't, but I had an idea. Inspector, can we share these images with other police stations? Maybe someone else has seen this face before. She nodded. We can't circulate it, but honestly, sister, Lagos is big. Finding one person among 20 million people is not easy. If you recognize this face, please send me a private
Message. This is very important for my family. Please share. Within 6 hours, the post had been shared over 200 times. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications. Most of the messages were from well-meaning people offering prayers and support. But 3 messages made my heart race. The first was from a girl named Fumi. Sister, I think the same person approached me at a wedding in Ikeja last month. He was very friendly and insisted on buying me drinks. I felt strange after drinking with him, but I thought it was just the heat. My friends helped me home. The second was from a woman named Blessing. This man looks familiar. I saw him at a birthday party in Bagata 2 months ago. He was hanging around the food area a lot. After the party, one of the celebrant's friends couldn't find her phone and some money from her purse. The third message made me sit down. Hi, my name is Chioma. This man drugged me at a wedding in Victoria Island 3 months ago. I lost 400,000 naira from my account. I reported to police, but they said no evidence. Can we talk? I arranged to meet Chioma at a restaurant in Yaba the following Saturday. She was a petite lady in her late 20s, working as a nurse at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Her story was almost identical to mine. He introduced himself as the groom's friend from Port Harcourt. Very well dressed, spoke intelligently, seemed like good people. He insisted I should eat something because I looked tired from work. What happened after you ate?
I remember feeling dizzy while walking to catch a bus. The next thing I knew, I woke up in my flat 2 days later. My roommate found me on Sunday evening, lying on the floor in my room. I couldn't remember how I got home. And your money? Gone. All of it, withdrawn from different ATMs across Lagos, just like yours. Chioma had also gone to the police. Like me, she was told there wasn't enough evidence to pursue the case. Kemi, I think this man is a professional. He targets young women at social events, drugs them, and somehow gets their PIN numbers while they are unconscious. But how does he get the PIN? I've been thinking about it for months. I think while we are drugged, he forces us to reveal our PIN. Maybe he threatens us, or maybe the drugs make us compliant. We just can't remember. The thought of being conscious, but unable to control my actions, of being forced to give away my life savings while helpless to stop it, made me physically sick. Through social media, we identified 5 more women who had similar experiences over the past year. All young professionals, all drugged at social events, all robbed of their savings. We created a WhatsApp group called David's Victims and started sharing information. The pattern was clear. He attended weddings, birthday parties, and other celebrations. He always claimed to be a relative or friend of someone. He targeted young women who appeared to be alone or tired. He insisted on offering food or drinks. The victims lost consciousness for 1 to 3 days. Their bank accounts were emptied through systematic ATM withdrawal. Between the 7 of us, he had stolen over 3.2 million naira. This man is not just a thief, said Fumi during one of our group meetings. Who knows what else he did to us while we were unconscious? That thought kept all of us awake at night. Our breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Blessing, the woman who had seen David at the Imbagada party, worked as a hairdresser. Her salon was in a busy area where she heard all kinds of gossip. "Ladies, I have gist for you," she announced in our WhatsApp group one Tuesday evening. "My customer today was talking about her brother who got arrested last week for fraud. She said he was part of a gang that drugs people at parties and steals their money." My heart started racing. She mentioned that they caught one of the gang members, but the main guy, she called him Prince, is still on the run. She said Prince is light-skinned and very handsome, and that he's the one who does the drugging while others handle the ATM withdrawals. Prince, not David, but definitely our man. Did she say where they arrested the gang member? Alaba Market. Apparently they were using a shop there as their base. The police are still investigating. This was it. Finally, a real lead. I immediately called Inspector Aduni and shared the information. For the first time since this whole ordeal began, she sounded excited. "We've been tracking a fraud ring operating from Alaba Market. If your David is connected to them, we might finally catch him." 3 days later, Inspector Aduni called me at 6 a.m. "We got him." I screamed so loud that my neighbors probably thought someone was being murdered. We raided a compound in Alaba yesterday evening, found 4 men with dozens of ATM cards, bank statements, and photos of potential victims. Your David, his real name is Prince Emeka Okafor, was among them. I couldn't believe it. After 2 months of frustration, sleepless nights, and feeling helpless, the nightmare was finally ending. What happens now? You and the other victims need to come to the station to identify him and give statements. We want to make sure the case is solid before it goes to court. Walking into the police station that Thursday afternoon was one of the most terrifying and empowering moments of my life. Prince was sitting in a cell with 3 other men. He looked smaller somehow, less confident than the charming man I had met at Tola's party. When he saw me through the bars, his eyes widened with recognition, but he quickly looked away. "That's him," I told Inspector Adoni. "That's the man who drugged me." One by one, Chioma, Funmi, and the other victims identified him. By the end of the day, we had built an overwhelming case against him and his gang. During questioning, Prince finally confessed. The method was exactly what we had suspected. We would scout social events looking for young women who appeared to have money, bank workers, nurses, teachers. I would approach them, gain their trust, and drug their food or drinks. What did you do while they were unconscious? We would take them to a safe house. While they were drugged, we would force them to reveal their PIN numbers. The drugs made them compliant. They would answer questions, but they wouldn't remember later. Then we would take their ATM cards and systematically withdraw money from different locations to avoid suspicion. After we emptied their accounts, we would dump them somewhere safe and abandon them. The casual way he described ruining our lives, the clinical approach to destroying our dreams and security made me want to reach through the bars and strangle him. But justice was finally being served. The trial began 6 months after Prince's arrest. Lagos High Court in Ikeja on a Tuesday morning. I'll never forget walking up those steps with the other victims. We'd all taken time off work to be there. Some of us had traveled from different parts of Lagos. Chioma came all the way from her night shift at the hospital. Funmi closed her shop for the day. Prince sat in the defendant's dock wearing a clean white shirt and black trousers. He looked nothing like the dangerous criminal who had terrorized us. He looked like someone's son, someone's brother. That's what made it even more chilling. The prosecutor, Mrs. Adebayo, was a sharp woman who had clearly done her homework. She presented our case with precision that made me proud to be Nigerian. My lord, the defendant and his criminal organization specifically targeted young working women at social gatherings. They used sophisticated drug combinations to render victims helpless, then systematically entered their bank accounts. One by one, we testified. Each woman told her story. The false identity, the friendly approach, the insistence on food or drinks, the lost days, the stolen money. When it was my turn, I looked directly at Prince. I trusted you because you seemed like good people. You used our culture of hospitality and kindness against us. You knew that in Nigeria, when someone offers you food, refusing can seem rude. You exploited that. Prince's lawyer tried to paint us as willing participants who had simply been careless with their money. How do we know these women did not willingly give their PIN numbers to my client? How do we know they were not in romantic relationships with him? I wanted to stand up and scream, but Mrs. Adebayo was ready. My lord, the CCTV evidence clearly shows the defendant systematically withdrawing money from multiple ATMs across Lagos, while the victims were reported missing by their families. The medical reports confirmed the presence of drugs in their systems. This was not romance. This was robbery. 3 weeks later, we returned for the judgment. Judge Okronkwa was an elderly man with kind eyes but a stern voice. He took his time reviewing the evidence
before speaking. The court finds the defendant, Prince Emeka Okafor, guilty on 7 counts of robbery, conspiracy, and administration of drugs with intent to harm. We held our breath. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 15 years imprisonment without the option of fine. Additionally, he is ordered to make restitution to all victims for the full amount stolen. 15 years. It felt like justice, but it also felt like not enough. 15 years for destroying 7 women's lives, for taking away our sense of security, for making us afraid to accept kindness from strangers. But it was something. It was accountability. Prince showed no emotion as they led him away in handcuffs. He didn't look at any of us. Getting our money back was another battle entirely. The court ordered restitution, but Prince had no assets. The gang had spent most of the stolen money on expensive lifestyle, cars, clothes, rent for multiple apartments across Lagos. However, the police had managed to freeze some accounts and recover about
800,000 naira in total. Split among 7 victims, it wasn't much. I got back 114,000 naira out of my original 850,000 naira. It was painful, but I had learned not to measure my healing by the money recovered. The real victory was that Prince could never do this to another woman again. Recovery was harder than I expected. For months after the trial, I couldn't eat food prepared by people I didn't know extremely well. Even at my office cafeteria, I would watch the food being prepared and served before I felt safe eating it. I couldn't attend parties or social events without feeling paranoid. Every friendly stranger seemed like a potential threat. Every offer of food or drink made my heart race. My sleep was disrupted for almost a year. I would wake up in the middle of the night, checking my phone to make sure I was in my own bed, checking my bank account to make sure my money was still there. I started seeing a counselor, Dr. Aduni, at the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital. It was expensive, using money I couldn't really afford to spend, but it was necessary. She explained during our first session that what you experienced is a form of trauma. Your sense of safety and trust has been violated. Healing takes time. She taught me breathing exercises for when the panic attacks came. She helped me understand that being cautious wasn't the same as being afraid to live. She said, the goal isn't to go back to who you were before. The goal is to become someone stronger and wiser. Slowly, very slowly, I started rebuilding. I had to abandon my master's degree plans. I simply didn't have the money anymore. But I used the experience to motivate myself at work. I studied banking regulations and fraud prevention in my spare time. Within a year, I was promoted to Senior Customer Service Officer with a small salary increase. It wasn't much, but every naira counted as I tried to rebuild my savings. The other victims and I stayed in touch. We became like sisters, bound by our shared experience. We celebrated each other's victories. When Funi expanded her salon, when Chioma got promoted at the hospital, when Blessing started a small catering business. We also supported each other through the difficult days, when the nightmares returned, when we felt stupid for trusting Prince, when we wondered what else he might have done to us during those lost hours. Through counseling and research, I learned to recognize the warning signs that I had missed that night. 1. The stranger who knows too much. Prince knew exactly how to talk to young professionals in Lagos. He understood our struggles with work stress, traffic, expensive rent. But looking back, he was almost too understanding, too knowledgeable about lives he claimed not to live. 2. Insistence on food or drinks. Normal people accept no thank you when you decline food or drinks. Predators insist. They create reasons why you need to eat or drink something they're offering you. 3. Targeting tired or isolated people. Prince specifically approached women who appeared tired or were sitting alone. Predators look for vulnerable. 4. False familiarity. He claimed to be Tolu's cousin, giving himself a reason to be at the party and a connection to someone I trusted. Always verify family relationships if something feels off. 5. Watching you eat. I should have noticed how intently he watched me consume the food. Normal people don't monitor your eating habits so carefully. 2 years later, my life looks very different. I'm still at the same bank, but now I work in the fraud prevention department. My experience with Prince gave me insights that my colleagues value. I helped train other staff members on how to recognize and prevent similar crimes. I rebuilt my savings to 400,000 naira, not where I was before, but progress. I'm more careful with money now, more strategic about saving. I'm dating someone now, Emmanuel, a teacher I met through my church. He knows my story and understands why I need to take things slow, why I need to build trust gradually. The other victims are doing well too. Chioma got married last year to a doctor she met at work. Funi opened a second salon in Surulere. We all attended her grand opening. If you're watching this, if you're a young person living in Lagos or anywhere in Nigeria or Africa, please learn from my experience. Free food can be a trap. I don't mean that every kind person offering you a meal has bad intentions, but I mean that criminals use our cultural values against us. They know that refusing food can seem rude, so they exploit our politeness. Trust your instinct. If something feels wrong, it probably is. That little voice in your head that says something is not right, listen to it. Verify identities. If someone claims to know someone you know, check with that person. It takes 2 seconds to send a WhatsApp message. Be strategic about vulnerability. Don't eat or drink anything at parties unless you watched it being prepared or it came from a trusted source. Carry your own water. Watch your surroundings. Criminals study their targets. They know how to blend in at social events. Stay alert. Have emergency contacts. Make sure someone always knows where you are. Check in with family or friends regularly when you're out. Prince and his gang weren't just random criminals. They represented something bigger, a system that preys on young people trying to build their lives in this challenging economy. We work so hard for our money in Nigeria. Every naira we save comes from sacrifice, skipping meals, walking instead of taking transport, buying second-hand clothes instead of new ones. When criminals steal our savings, they are not just taking money, they are stealing our dreams, our future plans, our sense of security. But they can't steal our resilience. If something like this has happened to you, please know, it's not your fault. Being kind, being trusting, being polite, these are not character flaws. The fault lies entirely with the person who chose to exploit your goodness. You're not stupid. These criminals are professionals. They know how to manipulate emotions and exploit social situations. The fact that they succeeded doesn't mean you lacked intelligence. You can recover. It takes time, it takes support, it takes professional help sometimes, but you can rebuild your life stronger than before. Report to police. Even if they seem uninterested initially, create a paper trail. Your case might be the evidence needed to catch the criminal later. Connect with other victims. You don't have to heal alone. Sharing experiences with people who understand can be incredibly therapeutic. 3 years later, I can say that what Prince did to me changed my life in ways I never expected. It made me more careful, more strategic, more aware of danger, but it also made me stronger, more empathetic, more committed to protecting other young women from experiencing what I went through. I volunteer now with a non-profit organization that educates young people about fraud prevention. We visit universities, offices, and social gatherings to share awareness. Every time I tell my story, I see recognition in some faces, women who've had similar experiences, or women who realize they've had close calls they didn't even recognize. That's why I'm sharing this story with you now, not for pity, not for sympathy, but for prevention. I titled this story, Why I Will Never Accept Free Food in Lagos Again, and that's a promise I intend to keep. It doesn't mean I've become antisocial or paranoid. It means I've become intentional about my safety. I've learned to be kind without being naive, polite without being vulnerable. Lagos is still my home. Nigeria is still where I want to build my future. But now I navigate this city with wisdom earned through painful experience. I want every young person watching this to benefit from my lessons without having to go through the trauma I experienced. Be kind, but be careful. Be trusting, but be wise. Be open to new experiences, but always prioritize your safety. Your dreams matter too much to let criminals steal them. Stay safe, Lagos. Stay alert, Nigeria. Stay strong, Africa. And remember, free food in this city can cost you everything. Prince Emeka Okafor is currently serving his 15-year sentence at Kirikiri Medium Security Prison. 3 other members of his gang received sentences ranging from 7 to 12 years. Since our case,
Lagos State Police have reported a significant decrease in similar drugging and robbery cases, though they believe other gangs may still be operating. The 7 victims have all rebuilt their lives successfully. We remain in contact and support each other's continued healing. If you've been affected by similar crimes, resources for support include Lagos State Police Fraud Unit
and EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. You can also reach out to Mirabel Center for Trauma Counseling and Women's Rights and Health Project. Remember, you are stronger than what happened to you.